All right, let's dive into the run defense here real quick, Tim. Rushing yards per game, the Packers are currently sitting not. I'm glad you flashed Rashawn Gary up there, man, because there's been many plays this year, especially down inside the 5, where he's really popped in run defense. I feel like his game has gotten better on that
Yep.
side. Maybe his pass rush has taken a little bit of a step back, although he still leads the team in pressures. He's doubled anyone else on the team in pressures, and he leads the team in sacks. I feel like his run defense is really taking a step forward. Maybe that's more of that emphasis during practice, whether it's from the Ogabasi effect coming in from Boston College and helping Rebrovich with the run defensive side, or if it's just Rebrovich now being the defensive line coach, but something's clicked. The Packers are ninth in the league right now at only allowing 105 rushing yards per game. It's pretty
go.
close.
It's awesome to talk about the Packers' run defense.
Mm-hmm.
We tried to talk about that in the past, and it was difficult because we didn't have one.
Right.
Now we have one, along with decent coverage and like I said, top 10 defense, no matter how you slice it. And not getting killed in the run game is absolutely crucial. And you're right, Rashawn has stepped up, and Devontae Wyatt, when he plays within that system, he's looked good on the inside. TJ Slayton has been great against the run this year. So things are starting to come together, and we are getting good linebacker play in the run fits, which is something that's improved over last year. So I'm happy, man. At least we've got it right. We've got a run defense.
Yeah. And here's the thing too, like we're legit top 10 in rushing yards per game allowed. You go, okay, well, are they getting ran on a lot? They're getting ran on 11th most in the league at 41.4%, right? Or is that the fewest? That's the fewest. Okay. So that would make sense that they would be lower to the list there. So 22nd at 41.4%, right? So the teams that are getting ran on the most, Carolina Panthers run defense, man, I don't know if you've looked at it, Tim, but they're giving up 173 yards rushing per game. Could you imagine that, dude? That's crazy. So the Packers, maybe it's do you guys feel like, and you let me know in the chat, do y'all feel like we're playing with the lead more often this year? Do you think it's that is the reason that teams are running less on us? Obviously, it's less effective. That's going to force people out of their running game as well. But it just seems like with the way the numbers stack up here, I'm glad that this was actually how it shaked out, because I was going, wow, I did not expect them to get run on that least amount. Obviously, but 22nd in the league at 41.4% per game. It just seems like we get them out of their running game really quick, and then it's time to force a turnover in the passing game.
Absolutely. I mean, that's complementary football too, right? You take away that ability. It's not really taking it away, but you're basically forcing a team, if they got to play from behind, what time it is, unless you're, if you don't have Josh Jacobs, Saquon, or Derrick Henry, then you're probably not going to run the ball down two or three scores in a ball game. So it certainly does help that, we have been playing with a lead a little bit more than I think we did last year for sure.
Yeah. Let's see how many tutters we've given up in the running game. In terms of best to worst here, the Packers are 11th, actually tied for 10th with the Baltimore Ravens. They've only given up 12 rushing touchdowns, so pretty decent there. Breaking into the top 10, right on the edge there. When we're talking about controlling explosives, this is probably the most important statistic, only behind touchdowns, right? And when you look at the explosives, the Packers have given up 42 explosive runs. That's running plays of 10 yards or more. They are tied for 10th in that category as well. That's what you're looking for. Top 10 in explosives, top 10 in scoring, all that good stuff. Let's look at stuff percentage. Team run stuff rate, higher number the better. The Packers are 11th at 18.4% of the time, actually tied for 10 with the Eagles at stuffing the run. And I want to say that's 2 yards or less gained on the play, if I remember correctly. We won't take the time to look through the glossary too deep, but that's where they sit there on stuffing the run. EPA per rush attempt, obviously the low number wins, and the Packers are tied for 10th with the Indianapolis Colts at negative 0.08 EPA per rush, looking really good there in that regard. Let's see if there's anything else we want to hit here. Stack box percentage. So it's safe to say, Tim, we got a top 10 run defense, right? Would you agree with that?
Oh, yeah.
All right. So let's see how often we play with a stacked box. 13th most in the league at 22.6%. So I like it, man. You're really allocating resources to stopping the run. You're putting that extra guy in the box. And then I love how the safeties have responded too, both Xavier McKinney and Evan Williams being able to rotate out. Xavier McKinney's ability to play spur and sometimes get on the outside shoulder of the tight end and then still cover deep third or deep half or what is just wild to watch.
That's literally the X factor, right? That's what allows us to be able to play like this. You can load that box up and trust that your back end, you're not going to get lit over the top, on the deep pass or anything like that because of the play of your safeties, particularly McKinney. But Evan Williams too has been solid this year.
Yeah, definitely. So again, that's the look at the run defense. We got an in and out percentage. Let's check this out. So this is opponent inside the tackles rush percent. How often are teams running inside the tackles against specific defense? So inside the tackles against the Packers, they're running inside 22nd most in the league at 43.8% of the time. So it seems like teams really are not interested in running between the tackles against the Packers as they're in the bottom third, right? Would be at least definitely the bottom half, obviously. And then running outside, that means that teams are really trying to test the Packers running the ball outside at 54%. So there's something on tape that suggests as we go into week 16 that teams think it's better to run outside as opposed to inside on the Packers. And again, TJ Slayton not played a whole lot of snaps, but when he's in the lineup, man, he seems to be a dog there in the middle. I know PFF does not agree, but it's almost every game you could turn on the tape and look at TJ Slayton's snaps, and he's disruptive, Tim. He really is, man.
Yeah, you need guys like that on your D line, man. And regardless of the snap totals, when he's on the field, you notice it, right? And he gives those guys a boost. And I just like his attitude. TJ was always been a work in progress since he got here. And I think he's improved year by year. And I think he'll do more as we ask him to do more. But some of those run fits, man, he looks really good getting off the block and making tackles.
Yeah, for sure, man. All right. Anything else you want to look at here in terms of team run defense, Tim?
No, I think we covered it.
All right, cool. Let's take a walk across Twitter real quick. I'll try to get organized with this and filter out the stuff that's not important, but just trying to keep our ear to the Twitter streets. All right, as we continue to see what's going on this year. And I love the coverage, man. We just got such a cool fan base. Everybody does an excellent job kind of keeping you up to the minute with what's going on around the league and more specifically with the Packers. So I wish we could play this. I'm not going to because the other day we played like a 30-second clip of a game. And, of course, even though it was on Twitter on my page, we got hit with a copyright. So the broadcasts are really weird about this stuff. And most of the stuff that the Packers team puts together on Twitter come from the broadcast. But it's that audio. If you want to hit it real quick, Tim, the Romeo Doubs.
I just caught the ball.
You guys have got to go watch this video that the Packers tweeted out, okay? Green Bay Packers Twitter handle, and it's actually to vote a Pro Bowl. If you retweet it, it gives a vote for Romeo Doubs into the Pro Bowl. Not that anybody here cares about the Pro Bowl. You guys know how I feel about that, and we'll just keep it moving. But this video that the social media team put together is absolutely awesome. It's just literally over and over and over Romeo Doubs saying, I just caught the ball. And it's showing these miraculous catches.
I just caught the ball.
It's absolutely awesome, man. Romeo's my kind of guy, Tim. I don't know if you feel the same.
Yeah.
It's the dude that keeps to himself, man. I love that guy. I'm so glad he's a Green Bay Packer.
Yeah, Rome's a humble dude, but also confident. He's got that quiet confidence in himself and his abilities as well as his teammates. And I love the fact that, Packers social media's got to brag on him. We have to brag about him. We have to, hype him up and talk him up because he doesn't do that himself. You talk about like you got Jair Alexander on one side of the coin, you got, Rome on the other side, right? Polar opposite kind of personalities. Rome does the trash talking with his play. He just goes out there and plays. And, the teammates are the guys that have to hype him up and, get him to celebrate, try and make him smile a little bit because he's just a real humble, quiet dude. And, he just, caught the ball. That's it. He just catches the ball.
Jacob Morley put a tweet out. Tucker Kraft needs 7 receptions, 79 to pass Richard Rodgers for the most receptions by Packers tight end in their first 2 seasons. So only 7 more catches, and we got, 2 2 more games. What do we? 3 more games, right, Tim?
Yep, 3 more.
Yeah, I feel comfortable with him getting that, man. And you're seeing the numbers start to stack up for Tucker. And again, he's a dude that's obviously he's forklift certified, as he said on Twitter, and a guy that can help in the running game, blocking. His run blocking has gotten a lot better this year. It's really fun to watch him run block now, and he seems to truly understand where he needs to be at all times in this Matt LaFleur running game. The Yak, obviously, is one of the best, if not the best, tight ends in the league with yak yardage and sure hands, which we kind of noticed that last year. Tim, you remember going toward the end of the season, we were like, he hasn't had a drop yet. This dude is as sure-handed as they come, and that's what you're looking for, a safety valve at the tight end position. So, I don't know, man. I think you're going to look up in a year or two, and Tucker Kraft's going to be a top 3 tight end in this league. I feel like he's already there personally, but it's going to take a little bit of time for the national media to catch up for sure.
Oh, yeah, of course. I just love the fact that, he's a complete tight end, not one of these one-dimensional kind of guys, right? Some tight ends, they get that reputation as just they're blockers, right? They're dogs and they're blockers. They're not really pass-catching threats. But the best ones in the game are all of the above. And I do believe that that's, Tucker Kraft is cut from that cloth. He's a receiving threat, but also a monster blocker in that run game for sure.
Yeah. Joseph in the chat says he already is. I agree, man. I do. Again, probably won't hear a whole lot about it in the mainstream sports media for another year or two. It just seems like they're always behind in that regard for sure. So, Omer in the chat. We need to trade Rashawn Gary, Kenny Clark, Eric Stokes, and Myers for TJ.
Oh my God, take that off the screen, Omer.
Omer, I'm sorry, buddy.
Time difference. It must be late over there in France. Omer needs some sleep. Get some sleep, buddy.
I got to hit you with it, Omer. I'm sorry.
Stay off the damn weed.
Up next, and he did throw the silly face emoji. We know you. So there was the video that we were talking about. Cody Krupp put out for practice that shows Hafley talking with Robert Saleh there on the sideline. Man, and these guys, listen, they're. We talked about it as soon as Jeff Hafley was hired. He kept referring to his friends in the NFL. This is who he was talking about. So the fact that Robert Saleh ends up on the same staff, and this is kind of an insurance policy for Matt LaFleur too, Tim. I feel comfortable saying Robert Saleh will not get offered a head coaching job this year, right? I think you would agree with that, right? I don't think teams are going to give him a head coaching job, right?
Not at this stage of the game, right?
Right.
You've got a lot of interim head coaches out there. They're probably going to roll with those guys until the end of the year, especially a lot of these teams that they're not playoff teams,
And I'm specifically talking about the offseason. Like, I don't think teams are – I think you're going to have, like, your Mike Vrabels. You're going to have some of these bigger name, coaches. I don't think a team would be willing to hire Robert Saleh based off of his head coaching record, right? But he is going to be one of, if not the top candidates for a defensive coordinator spot. So the reason I mention this, and we've mentioned it before, but I just want to kind of double down on this. If for some reason teams come calling towards Jeff Hafley, what'll probably happen is I don't know if Jeff Hafley will get offered a head coaching job, but he's damn sure going to interview. That's going to happen. I feel confident saying that he's going to get at least 1 or 2 interviews for a head coaching job. Now, if a team does come in and he knocks an interview out of the park and they go, we want to hire him, and Robert Saleh isn't going to get any head coaching jobs, you can bet your rear end that he's going to stay in Green Bay as the DC because he's probably not going to get a head coaching offer. So I love the insurance policy of Robert Saleh, the fact that he's already in-house and he and Matt LaFleur are best friends, right? That if for some reason Jeff Hafley gets poached from the Green Bay Packers, we got probably the best insurance policy in the entire league. Now,
and we got the Jets paying for it too.
Exactly. And now I'll say this. What's most likely going to happen, Tim, Jeff Hafley will not get offered a head coaching job. He'll stay in Green Bay. And unfortunately, Robert Saleh will go somewhere else and be a defensive coordinator. That's probably going to happen. I pray to sweet baby Jesus it doesn't end up being Chicago. That's just me personally. That would suck. But talking about adding to the rivalry, though, Matt LaFleur play calling against his best friend, one of the best DCs in the league, and Robert Saleh will be very, very interesting for sure. So what's your thoughts on all that, man?
I hope you're wrong. I hope he stays forever.
Me too.
I hope Hafley stays forever. Let's keep this. Bob Saleh doesn't need that money, man. He's got all that.
You're fine, Bob.
He's got all that New York Jet money pouring in. Let him come back as a consultant again if that's what we got to do to keep these guys together. But no, you're right, Clayton. I'm just joking. I mean, there is always that possibility. We don't know what's probable. We're just saying what could be possible down the stretch, and that's totally valid. Clearly, Coach Half is going to get some calls and get some interviews for some of these head coaching positions. Whether or not he's going to get offered them is another story. And then, like you said, Robert Saleh, man, one of the more respected names in defensive football, certainly is going to get interviews for DC positions. And, I think it'll be a tough decision for Bob Saleh himself to have to think about, where does he want to go and, coordinate a defense. I think he probably would prefer to stay with his buddies in Green Bay, but, you got to have, you can't have too many cooks in the kitchen, right? So that, you've got to commit to your DC and his staff. And I think what we've got going on right now is great for the time being. Like you said, it's a great insurance policy, but we'll see what the future holds here moving forward.
The storylines are going to be great this offseason, though, man. And we try not to dive too deep into the possibilities of what could happen. But, man, the offseason, as soon as the season's over, it's like we turn the page. We're still doing a daily show, probably doing multiple shows a day still. And this is going to be one of the storylines right out of the gate, right? As these teams continue to move on from their coaching staffs and get set up for the interviewing process, you're going to hear names like Robert Saleh and possibly Jeff Hafley. For sure. So I just know Saleh looks damn good in that Packers hoodie, man. That green and gold looks good on it for sure, man. All right, moving along here. I just wanted to share this to you. Again, guys, go give Cody Krupp a follow at Cody W. Krupp, Krupp. Really, really good follow on Twitter. If I understood his bio correctly, he grew up in the area, and now he's getting to cover his favorite team, in the Green Bay Packers for Fox local. Seems like a really good dude. Might try to get him on the show, to be honest with you, man. He'd probably be a good ad. Anybody who covers the Packers and do it from a fan's perspective, I just absolutely love. I can't stand the media members and not that I can't stand the people themselves, but when they're constantly talking about, I'm not a fan. Okay. All right. We get it, bub. We get it. And now we're going to look at everything.
Not much of a journalist either.
We're going to look at everything you do moving forward through probably hate the Packers.
Yep.
Just saying. So I don't know, man. I kind of like the old school approach of trying to find the positive in the team you cover because if it wasn't for people like the very first Green Bay Press Gazette sports media members that covered the team that way, Packers probably would not have lasted, to be honest with you. There were so many times that we hear throughout the course of history, whether it's from Cliff Christo or anyone else who's covered the Packers history, that it was the Green Bay Press Gazette that would always try to spin the story to a positive light to keep people interested in the small town of Green Bay's football team. So it's huge. If it hadn't been for that, if they had been covered by people that just constantly go around talking about we're not fans, the Packers probably would not exist today. So
that's why you got to appreciate guys like Cody, right? And Wes Hockowitz, another guy that clearly
Paul Brettel. I thought Paul Brettel too.
Yep, Paul Brettel's another great example.
Yeah. These are all people.
You can be a fan and still objectively cover a team. But
we do it all the time.
Nice. We try to do it all the time. So it's nice to have that perspective. But if you're trying to convince the world that you're not a fan, because of your so-called journalistic integrity or whatever, which is, a facade, I don't really gravitate towards that type of content. I don't.
It's frustrating, too, like to hear people say, hey, we just don't want you to get too high on the team. Like they literally said, and it's like, why do you not want people to be happy with the success their team's having right now? Like that, I don't understand it. You want the fans to be upset, and then you get upset when the upset fans come at you, and now it's all negative. And it's like they're, I don't know, man. It's like they're self-appointed gatekeepers to. We'll let you know when you're being too happy. And I don't know, man. It's just life's too short to worry about that crap. Right. I'll tell you this though, man. Josh Jacobs is the leader of the Packers. This was a really cool little interview, just 52 seconds long. Again, came from Cody Krupp. This man's been on fire here lately. Let's hear what Josh Jacobs had to say in the locker room. I just put a tweet out, kind of paraphrasing a little bit. I said a lot is spoken about lightening the workload for the Packers down the stretch, but I think there is also a, quote, momentum aspect too. Josh Jacobs wants to rock. Cody Krupp tweeted here with this quote tweet and said, running back Josh Jacobs prefers not to have a lesser workload down the home stretch to stay fresh for the playoffs. Here is the exact quote.
Yeah, I feel great. I don't have no bruises, no nothing right now. So I feel great. Just as long as I feel good, I feel like we could do whatever we could do. If I was battling with something right now, then I would probably say like be precautious. But I feel great.
So what's the key to that? Man, you got the ball a lot.
I don't think defenders really just like they don't really just hit me that hard. I feel like I kind of pick and choose too. Like one thing about playing this long, like you kind of know angles and things like that. So like even if I do get tackled, it's not like I'm getting smacked on the tackle. Like I'm falling a certain type of way. I'm taking angles where I might use their force against them and really help myself. So for me, I've been pretty clean, man. I can't complain.
I love it, man. I think
That's
it's
our
just,
guy right there. How many times have we seen it too, right? You see Josh get wrapped up 2 or 3 defenders and he just keeps those legs driving or falls forward. Half the time we're seeing first downs from defenders trying to just simply tackle him and they can't oppose that momentum. And he's always going forward. I mean, even how many plays have we seen this year, Clayton, where he's just stopped for no gain at the line and it turns into 7 yards because he's just a force, man. And I love that confidence, right? That attitude. I don't feel like anyone hits me very hard.
and he talks about like being able to take certain angles to absorb, the contact so you don't get hurt. But the big thing to be learned there, in my opinion, is contact balance. Yep. Balance is something that's not talked about a lot in the National Football League. And it kind of goes hand in hand with what Mike Walsh said about how you handle confrontation or how you arrive at confrontation determines how you handle confrontation. It's very similar. Like the goal for the ball carrier, whether it's a running back or it's yak yardage with a wide receiver and a tight end, is don't go down, don't be tackled, right? Yeah. And all that ties back into contact balance, it really does. And Barry Sanders, holy cow. That dude had
master.
I mean, he was like an alien when it comes to contact balance. That dude it didn't matter how many guys hit him. It just always seemed like he was running on his toes, but every square centimeter of his foot was planted on the ground. And it's like, that's why they called him a freak. Like, it was like, you look at his ankles, like they're not supposed to bend like that. It's like his knee could be pointed one direction, his entire foot planted on the ground, but he's still cutting and going, as where most guys, you're just looking at a very small portion of the ball of your foot or the toe or the cleat being on the ground. Barry was the best at it, man. And again, I know indoors with the turf probably helped there, running with tennis shoes, things like that. But
that old line he had didn't help much. So gotta give him some credit there. How lucky are we though that we got to see him a couple times a year? Just watching Packer games, man. It's amazing.
To this day, he's my favorite football player of all time. That's me personally. Well, because he played the game the right way. That was the big thing. And that's what I like about Romeo Doubs. Like some fans complain he doesn't show enough emotion. He doesn't show enough emotion. I respect that. I appreciate that someone's like, hey, act like you've been there. Right.
Yep.
All right. Let's see what else we got here. There's where I said, boy, the ESPN radio employees are upset with Aaron Rodgers this morning. That was very, very weird. This morning, hearing people complaining, and people that haven't watched Enigma but complaining about Enigma. Well, you need to watch it, man. I think you feel no, I don't want to watch it. Okay, all right, calm down.
Well, then shut the hell up about it. Then do one of the two.
I tweeted this out and I put Matt LaFleur speaks on how Aaron Rodgers took Jordan Love under his wing. If you'll give me a screen grab like the presser or something like that, Tim. Just anything up. Actually, Matt LaFleur would be fine too. Here is the audio from the Enigma series on Netflix, and this is specifically Matt LaFleur talking about how Aaron Rodgers took Jordan Love under his wing. Crank your TVs and your phones and your tablets up. There's nothing I can do on the volume. I apologize, but let's see what they had to say. It's about 1:26. I'll make sure I amplify it for the podcast. Here we go.
A chance to do it a little bit better than Brett did it.
He was upset in the moment, and I think we were all kind of, a little bit surprised of just everything that transpired. However, I can tell you, he welcomed Jordan with open arms, and he was a mentor to him. And I never asked him to do that. None of our coaches asked him to be that. I just think he went from his past experiences, having been in a similar situation. So it's interesting that he was on both sides of the coin.
The 1-2 relationship, mentor, whatever. How would you categorize the way he is with you?
It's been good. I mean, in the room, it's almost like talking to a coach with Aaron. I mean, he's just so smart, and just things that he kind of has seen over the years, and just kind of able to pick his brain. It's pretty amazing.
Is it fair to say he's enthusiastic about helping and teaching?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, I was trying to engage with him coming to a new team and all the emotions that I knew he would experience with being away from home and everything's new. And I would stop film sessions to let him know what I was thinking, why I did a certain thing, making sure he, was over at the house multiple times and was invited to things. And I just tried to make it, as easy as I could for him and help him have a better experience maybe than I did. Chance.
So there you go. I don't know, man. I just think it's absolutely awesome that they highlighted that on Enigma, and also hearing Matt LaFleur's take on it. Like, Matt didn't ask him to do that, right? And you guys can go back.
Of course, Jordan didn't show up at 12:65 and say, "What's up, Grandpa?" to Aaron Rodgers when he got here.
But when you kind of look at how he handled this situation, it's awesome. And you can go back and find a video where Aaron, it was like his third, maybe fourth year in the league. He said, I feel like it's our responsibility to take the next generation of football players in the league under our wing. And then it's one thing to say that when you just live through kind of the whole death threats and people threatening to break your legs and stuff because you're the new starting quarterback. And I know that's a very, very, very loud, very, very, very minute amount of the fan base. I got you. Typically the loudest idiots are the ones that get hurt as opposed to the normal majority that's just like, hey, this isn't right. But I love that he kind of walked the walk 10 years after he made those comments. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's easy to say that in the moment, and then when it comes time, are you really going to do it? I thought it was cool, man, that he handled it that way. And Jordan has been very, very vocal that, hey, 12 is awesome. 12 took me under his wing. So it's really cool to see.
And you look ahead to the future, hopefully we've got a few Lombardis in the trophy case. And, there will be a time when, the Packers will draft another quarterback and he'll play behind Jordan for 2 or 3 seasons, and that's what happens. I think guys realize that in the league. The league is a different landscape than it was, when Aaron came here and Brett was QB1. You know what I mean? It's kind of you're threatened a little bit. It's not my job to train my replacement, or you get a little bit of that anxiety about the young gun coming in and taking your spot. I think the way the league is now, and especially the way we do things in Green Bay, I don't think any starting quarterback has to worry that some rookie's going to come in and take your reps. You trust that it's part of the process. We draft and develop here. That's what you do. And I think to Aaron's credit, that's what he saw. We got to remember Aaron was a product of the Ted Thompson era, but also, was there with that ushering in of Goody and the changing of the guard to, the future of how things are done here. So he's seen it both ways. And it's a testament to his character that he did make it a point of emphasis to, take Jordan under his wing, give him a few pointers, let him learn by doing and by watching, and it's paid off because we see it, man. I see glimpses of that AR-12 in Jordan Love's game. You really do see it.
Oh, no doubt, man. The arm angles and just everything. He's so much fun to watch, man.
Picking apart a defense pre-snap. That's definitely an Aaron Rodgers attribute. I think Jordan's command and confidence at that line of scrimmage pre-snap is it's a testament to playing behind Aaron Rodgers for a couple of seasons. It really is.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we got a couple minutes here. Let's do a quick little PFF preview and look at the gambling numbers here with the Packers Saints. Obviously, the Packers are coming into town for Monday Night Football. They're calling for light snow at kickoff is what it says here. We'll keep our eye on that. We'll give you guys an update on that either later on tonight or tomorrow morning. But Saints are 5-9. The Packers are 10-4. Betting odds right now. This is what I wanted to hit on. This is wild, man. Absolutely wild. Matter of fact, let me see if I can widen this out a little bit more and get it to our normal. Here we go. That's what we're comfortable with. The betting odds right now, the Packers are 14-point favorites as it sits right now. When we look at how the market shifted, okay, coming into the week, it looks like the market opened at opened at 13.5-point favorites, okay? Then it goes to 14. It briefly came back to what appears to be a 13.5. Then it swayed all the way down to actually, we're looking at the PFF here. Give me just a second here. So it started at 13.5 on the market. Yeah, that's right. Then it went to 14. Then it came back to 13.5. The lowest it's gotten, if I can get that just right there, kind of hard to tell. It looks like it was probably around 13 points, back up to 14, shift back to 14.5, and now we're at 14 is where it's settled in. So they're trying to get some of the money to come in on the Saints, but obviously when you look at the spread, Packers being 14-point favorites, even as 14-point favorites, Tim, minus 14, 84% of the money is on the Packers to cover that spread, and 79% of the tickets are on the Packers to cover that spread. So that is absolutely wild. Now, obviously, the implied cover probability is leaning toward the Saints at a 50.8%. You guys know how I feel about that 14 points. If this was not a Packers game and I see 14-point favorites in the NFL, I'm typically going, let me tease that up to 14.5, make a little money right here. So that's usually how that works. But the money line itself, no surprise here for the Packers to win outright. 86% of the money is on the Packers. 97% of the tickets, the bets overall, are on the Packers to win that. What's crazy is look at the juice, man. The juice on this is, what is this, minus 1,010? That is crazy juice. So the market is sitting at 669 for the Saints is what the juice is there. So throw a little money on the Saints. If you weren't a Packers fan, you'd probably feel pretty good about them keeping it within 14 points. But I hope the Packers win by a hundo, Tim. What do you think? Nice. Again, this has got to be the largest line we've seen all year, right?
Oh yeah, and it'd be nice if this was a game where they do. Let's go. Let's boat race them, and then let's pull some guys out. Let's put some of these young guys out there, and see some of these rotational guys get some more reps and more looks. But at the end of the day, the most important thing's winning this game, right? By 1 or by 100, doesn't matter. But it would be a thrilling victory though if the Packers did cover, right? Beat this team by 17-21 or something like that. I'd love it.
Definitely. All right, so when you look at the team metrics, just the overall kind of matchup here, overall ranking, the Saints are 24th, the Packers are 7th. This is all according to PFF, by the way. Power ranking on defense, the Saints are 20th, the Packers are 11th. Power ranking on offense, the Saints are 28th, the Packers are 10th. Strength of schedule played, the Saints have played the 23rd hardest schedule in the league. We've played the 4th toughest schedule in the league. Average offensive snaps, pretty neck and neck there. Packers at 65.1, the Saints at 65.9. Percentage of run plays, the Packers have ran the ball significantly more than the Saints, but they've probably been leading a lot more than the Saints. 47.6% as opposed to the Saints at 41.9%. Obviously, that adjusts the pass play percentage at 58.1% of the time the Saints are passing. The Packers are passing at 52.4% of the time. EPA per run, the Packers are currently at minus 0.06 according to the EPA per run. The Saints are sitting at a 0 flat. And then the EPA per pass, the Saints are at a negative 0.05. The Packers are at a positive 0.19. Definitely have a huge advantage there in the passing game. When you look at the quarterback head-to-head matchup here, it's going to be Jordan Love against Spencer Rattler. As 2-0 for this said last night, Rattler, I hardly know her. So Jordan Love, 76.9 PFF grade. Spencer Rattler, 58.9. Passer rating when clean, Jordan Love, 108.1. Spencer Rattler, 80.9. Passer rating under pressure, Jordan Love, 77.8. Spencer Rattler, 51.7. Big time throw percentage, Jordan Love at 3.69%. Spencer Rattler only at 1.33. And then turnover worthy play percentage, Jordan Love at 3.2%. Spencer Rattler at 4%. Power rating is a 0.5 for Rattler, and it's a 4.0 for Jordan Love, which is not best in the league amongst quarterbacks, according to PFF. And the Spencer Rattler one is 29th as it sits right now. So I just want to kind of look at the quarterback matchup and where the money is as well as the line. Tim, you have the floor, man. Anything you want to add here as we get ready to wrap up, man? This is kind of the first look at the Saints game. We will dive a little deeper into it. If we do a show tonight, we'll dive even deeper into the lineup matchups, and we'll obviously get into it tomorrow as well. But what do you think about these numbers here, man?
I mean, overall, we're not scared of Spencer Rattler, right? I mean, I don't think anyone's like shaking with nervousness, over facing him. But that being said, don't crap the bed and let some kid come into Lambeau and make you look stupid. So I think as long as we keep our defense playing how it has been, the more we give Spencer Rattler to think about out there. The more we disguise coverages, the more that we mix in pressures, the more that we, pepper in that 17 to 20% man coverage looks here and there. Keep his brain turning quick. He's a young quarterback in this league trying to still figure things out. So the more complex we can make it seem for him on the field, the better off we're going to be. So you don't want to take him for granted, but we're certainly not intimidated. And I think that could be said for the Saints team as a whole, right? I mean, I'm sure the Packers feel pretty confident about this one at home in prime time, but don't get overly confident. That can be an issue sometimes with younger teams like the Packers, right? So let's make sure our guys are focused and don't trick this game off, man. Do not do it. You got to win this game. We've got 2 divisionals coming up after this. Don't let the Saints come marching in and steal one from you. Let's keep the win streak going here.
Yeah. And according to the weather right now, I was kind of looking at the over-under. The over-under is at 42.5, and you think, okay, there could potentially be snow. The wind doesn't look like it's going to be much of a factor. It's probably going to be somewhere between 7 to 10 miles an hour, so that's not bad. They're calling for a 60% chance of snow on Monday now, right? The evening, it's much lower than that, but keep in mind, typically with the forecast, the evening is overnight. So when you look at as far as the hourly extends at the moment, it only goes up to 8 a.m. on Sunday. Okay. So we're not even into the Monday yet. So when you're talking about 57% or 60% chance of snow during the day and only a 17% at night, probably going to be somewhere in the middle. I would say it's probably going to be between a 30-40% chance of some snow showers at game time, which, we welcome that. We love a good weather game, sure. So if you're looking to put some money on the over-under, though, just be cautious, be a little bit aware of that. Tim will tell you he lives right there in town. Would you guys end up with like 6 or 7 inches, I think, if I read it correctly in the chat. Yep. So it could change in a heartbeat, no doubt.
That's for sure, especially the wind. Something like the wind, that can switch on a dime. And we know about that swirling effect that you kind of get inside the bowl there at Lambeau. So certainly something to keep an eye on.
Yep. All right. That's it. Anything else, Tim? We'll wrap this big bear up.
No, I think we covered a lot today.
We did. Did a whole lot. Appreciate everybody in the chat. I know it was on fire. Wish we could have been a little more engaged in the chat. But obviously we want to get through this information. I'm kind of playing from a day behind being out of town. So we're trying to get back on track. Now, the Notre Dame Fighting Irish play a college playoff game tonight. I'd like to watch that. We may go live a little earlier. If we do, we might just not.
Playoffs?
Let's see how that shakes out. You guys be on the lookout for the link. We'll definitely be going live in the morning for Good Morning Lambeau, no doubt about that. So we'll try to fit one in a little later this evening before the game if we can. We'll see what's on the docket here. If we're going to plan on getting out and watching the game at a sports bar or something, no show. If I end up watching here at the house, I'll just have it on the TV and we'll do a live show. So thanks everybody in the chat. Appreciate y'all. For those of you listening on the pod, thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, let's go out and be the change we want to see in the world and go Pack.
And we go. Bye, guys.